Sharp escalation. US Secretary of State Marco Rubio has announced that the United States will begin aggressively revoking visas of some Chinese students, particularly those with ties to the Chinese Communist Party or studying in strategic fields. The Trump administration says the move is aimed at safeguarding national security, but it could have major repercussions, disrupting one of the largest international student groups in the US and potentially hurting both American universities as well as companies. Rubio said the State Department will also tighten visa rules for future applicants from China and Hong Kong, working in coordination with the Department of Homeland Security. In response, China's foreign ministry slammed the move as unjustified and ideologically driven, claiming it violates students' legitimate rights and harms cultural exchanges. Beijing has lodged a formal diplomatic protest with Washington. Let's listen in to what the Chinese Foreign Ministry has had to say.
以意识形态和国家安全为借口，无理取消中国留学生签证，严重损害中国留学生的合法权益，干扰两国正常人文交流。中方对此坚决反对，已向美方提出交涉。
Well, joining us to discuss these developments and reaction from China is Andrew K.P. Leung, a China strategist who's joining us from Hong Kong. Andrew, thank you for joining us. Let's look at this response from China after the action that Marco Rubio announced. What do you think the response will be, not just now, but in the longer term, given the potential ramifications of the revokement of these visas?
What we're seeing now with this restrictions of these visas is the latest episode of a self-inflicted destruction of Americans' leadership of the so-called liberal world order. The first pillar of this order is free trade, and that has been almost totally destroyed by the tariff war against not only Americans' adversaries, but its allies all over the world. And of course, it's the liberal world order is also based on Americans' long-held openness to immigration. Again, that has been totally upended. And then, of course, the kind of rule-based order respecting other people's sovereignty, that again has been totally discarded and thrown into the dustbin with Trump's claim to occupy Greenland and to make Canada the 51st state, control over the Panama Canal, and rename the Gulf of Mexico into Gulf of America. So that is again this trashing Americans' credibility as the leader of his the world liberal order, which has of course benefited the United States hugely, but also the rest of the world. Now, this last episode is again what underpins the Americans' leadership, which is academic freedom. Witness is aggression against Harvard and a lot of Ivy League institutions, and now it's restrictions on student visas, targeting the best and the brightest from China, and in particular, in the sense that, of course, China as now accounts for something like 25% of foreign students, especially in the Americans' Ivy League universities. And then as far as the science, technology, engineering, mathematics, STEM research, postdoctorate research, postdoctorate students from China account for a much higher percentage, even as much as 40% at some point. So these restrictions, treating every China student as a potential spy, restricting visas, drastically reduce the intake of even foreign students, not just China, because Trump has also said that foreign students, as far as the Harvard University is concerned, should not be something like 30% as of now. It should be reduced to, at best, 15%. So this openness to foreign academics, students, researchers, is a self-inflicted destruction of another pillar of the American-led liberal order, which in this case, academic freedom.
Yes, Andrew, we don't have too long left, but of course a big topic in this discussion is Harvard and the ongoing dispute that has been happening with Trump and his administration and the Ivy League university. Of course, comments around Harvard's relationship with China. How significant is Chinese interaction with Ivy League schools, and how damaging could this be, not just to young Chinese students who are looking to learn more, but also potentially the US business and economy moving forward?
Well, as highlighted by ex-Harvard president and ex-US Secretary for the Treasury, Larry Summers, Harvard is standing its ground because it's got a large amount of private endowment. But even Harvard cannot possibly withstand the full-blown Trump crackdown on the university. It is of course, very sad because Harvard is held in high regard, not only in academia in the United States, but across the world. It has a long history of openness and upholding a lot of values which underpin the American leadership of the post-war order in particular. And of course, Harvard existed long before the Second World War, and it's a very, very long history. And as I said, the best and the brightest from China, from Hong Kong, always look upon Harvard. I myself am a Harvard alumni, so I'm very, very sad about this destruction and attack against Harvard. But I think that this, coming back to my early remarks, this again is a last pillar of American-led liberal order, which is now being destroyed with self-inflicted kind of tactics in the hope of driving everything American first, without realizing what makes American first is not just numbers, it's not just money, but American soft power. And American soft power is not lying in tatters, and its allies are recalibrating relationships. Not that they would embrace China entirely, but they are going to think more than twice of relying on the United States, which just seem to be much less reliable, even as a partner, let alone a recognized leader of the so-called liberal world order. So I think the whole world has been upended.
Yes.
And this is the last episode.
Andrew KP Leung, as always, thank you ever so much for providing your insight. That is all that we have time for, but we'll be back very soon with more of your latest breaking international news.